Hey, good evening and welcome to Mishnah Yomi. We're learning the penultimate limud, the penultimate learning of Maseches Kilayim. We're learning Perek Tet, Mishnah Zayin and Ches. Mishnah Zayin says Abarsin v'Habardisin v'Hadal Mitkikyon Minalas Apinon Lo Yilbosh B'Henaj Yivdo. What are these things talking about? So the Rav, Ravadi Bartanura, says they're referring to different types of things you'd use cover your bed with. Bed sheets, I would assume, that are made from samer, from wool. And the lamdakin would be something like tights or something that a woman would wear. And Manalas Apinon are talking about types of shoes that are made with some wool. You have to check them, right? Because it might be that there's pishtan inside. These are, and the Rambam explains even the first two cases are only talking about bed sheets. They're more talking about things you wear for protection for clothing around your thighs and around the lower half of your legs, your calves. These things you have to check. Maybe there's pishtan in there, because if there is pishtan, it'll be a problem with shatnez. If you buy things from Medina Sayam, I guess it'd be islands, you buy something from, or even in countries that are not islands, you buy it from a city where it's on the coast. We don't have to assume linen is mixed into it. They probably use canvas, which is hemp, which is not the same thing as linen, as pishtan. So therefore that's mixed with the semer, and therefore you don't have to worry. However, a shoe, I believe this is talking about, actually I'm wearing them now, but Uggs, you know what Uggs are? They're shoes made out of leather on the outside, and the inside is made of a soft material, semer. There's no Isra of Kilayim over there. Why is there no Isra of Kilayim? That you have to wait to In Mishna to explain. I'll just simply explain over here. There's no Isra of Lishas Kilayim because it's not really a Levisha. You're not really wearing the Kilayim. We'll discuss exactly that in the In Mishna, so you have to stay tuned for that if you want to hear the real explanation. Mishnah Ches, and it's very important. It'll enlighten you about the whole Isra of Kilayim. I once asked a shaila to a Rav, when you have to check for Kilayim, when you don't have to check nowadays, present day. He said, unless the suit is a very expensive suit or it's very fancy socks. I don't know what he meant by fancy socks. So Herschel Schafter from YU said, those two cases you have to check for Kilayim. Otherwise, we don't assume that they mixed wool and linen together or any other clothing. So when you go and buy a sweater, or you buy a jacket, or you can buy a suit that's not a very fancy suit. I don't know what's Armani's a fancy suit. I don't know, Burberry. Those are considered fancy suits. Maybe Brooks Brothers. I don't know. Those you'd have to check. But if you go to your local hat box and you buy whatever you buy over there, it's not a fancy suit. Sorry to tell you. You don't have to check that for Kilayim. This was repeated to me, or Yaakov Friedman, a Rosh Shiva from Beitar, also said this, that you don't have to check regular suits for Kilayim. We don't assume. They only put it in the collars of very fancy suits, and only in fancy socks. What's considered fancy socks? I'm not really sure. I did buy some happy socks recently, about $10 a pair. Are they considered fancy? I don't know. I don't know of any socks that cost more than $10 a pair. But we'll have to look into that a little more. Mishnah Ches, Ein Isser Mishum Kilayim Ela Tavi V'Arug. There's only Isser Kilayim in a Torah if it's Tavi, if it's spun, if the threads are really spun and they're Arug and they're woven together. Shenemar Lo Silba Shatnez. Davar Shua Tavi V'Nuz. Shatnez is interesting. Lashon, what does it mean? So it's separated into three words. Shua means that it's smoothed out, right? It has to be a garment that's made out of processed threads. So each of the wool and the linen, you first process it independently. You smooth it out. Tavoi is you spin it. Venuz means that it's not just one thread. It's multiple threads spun together and woven together. You do that independently with the wool and the linen. And then, and then you weave them together, and whatever weave, a plain weave, other weaves there are, that is learned out of Yachdav, the Rabbi says, not from Shatnez, Shatnez, Yachdav, that's Arug, that's what the Mishnah meant. Shua Taivanu is telling you the first thing. Shimon ben Ozer Omer Noluz Umalis who has a Shmaim Olav. He says Also included in this word shatnez is that naluz umeli is that you're someone who's insolent and you're someone who angers HaKadosh Baruch Hu when you violate this Isser. So that's included in the word shatnez. Would he agree that it has to be Shuvat Tavivanuz or not? That's up for discussion. All right, stay tuned for In Mishna coming up next.